Captain. Brace for impact.
Hello. Davie Portman here from upNXT, postwrestling.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast Addict, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, you can find upNXT. And we are live, twitch.tv/upNXTpodcast. And this, my friends, is Deep Impact. But I can't do this show alone. So I am joined with Mr. Andrew Thompson himself making his big return. Andrew, how are you today?
Davey, it is good to be back, good sir. Glad to be back doing good impact. Deep impact with you, sir. How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Are you ready to dive back into the world of Impact Wrestling?
I am ready.
Fire and Flavor Fest just did you in a couple of weeks ago, didn't it?
Indeed it did, but I'm ready to get back. I did not catch that last week's episode. I only caught the highlights, but I'm interested. I was very interested to come into this show and catch the full thing to see what I missed from the previous week.
Absolutely, and you know what? I haven't spoken to you on your thoughts on the show at all, but I thought this was a pretty good week to come back in. I quite enjoyed this week's. I thought it was a vast improvement on the last couple, personally, but. You are our newsman, so for those of you that don't know Andrew, you write these crazy extensive reports for postwrestling.com. I saw you got one out there just earlier today as well. The stuff, you seem to kind of listen to absolutely everything, read everything. They're so extensive, these reports. I know you messaged me a bit earlier in the week kind of telling me about the Trey Miguel situation, so I thought maybe we could start this episode by talking about that.
Yeah, so basically, I'm pretty sure, as you guys know, who've been keeping up with the podcast over the past couple of weeks, and I think Trey Miguel returned on the January 26th episode of Impact. He did an appearance on the Wild On podcast with Taylor Wilde, who, spoiler alert, I don't want to spoil you guys, but I mean, she pretty much already leaked that she's going to be returning to Impact Wrestling soon, which ties into the podcast. But yeah, Trey was a guest on there. He basically, spilled the beans about why he didn't join WWE alongside Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. Basically, like, without going through the whole quote, he basically said that Dez and Zach needed wrestling in a different way than he does right now. Specifically mentioned that both of them are married and or engaged right now, and they just need professional wrestling in a different way than he does. And also, it came to a point where he has his family that he needs to, stick by, and can't really just pack up and move to Orlando, Florida, and just leave his family behind like that. Plus, he owns a wrestling school, and he likes the flexibility. Well, not owns a wrestling school, but is a head trainer at a wrestling school, and just like the flexibility of, being with Impact and then also being able to do other ventures as well. So yeah, that was basically the gist of it. But yeah, it just seemed like, and I know me and you talked about it previously, Davey, about the comments that Triple H made on the media call, like when he talked about wanting people that was fully committed. It was good to hear Trey's side, of that, that comment. And, it just seemed like, he just had more other important things to take care of, like, like family. So you got to respect it.
Yeah, I got kind of reading the article, I got kind of AJ Styles vibes from it. Like when he first got an offer from WWE and just the timing wasn't right for where he was in his life. I kind of assume from what he was saying about Wentz and Dez, it's kind of the money, that security there with having a family and stuff, whereas he isn't in that position. And he said he just had a nephew join his family nearby, and like he'd lost his brother, I believe, a few recently as well. So it made sense for him at this time in his life to stay, I guess, in where he's living right now and working for Impact. I don't see it as any bridges necessarily being burnt. The guy is the guy's only 26. Like, I think this is the right move for him personally, standing out a bit more as a main eventer, as a solo act in a company like Impact. And then I can absolutely see in a few years' time, whether it be AEW or NXT reaching out to Trey again. And you wonder, someone like him, once the world kind of opens up again, does he have aspirations to do kind of a Best of the Super Juniors or anything like that? Which obviously you wouldn't be able to do that if you were in WWE at this point in his career. But it seemed quite an open and honest article. And yeah, and personally, I'm very happy to see him still in Impact.
Yeah, I 100% agree. On to some kind of similar. Well, not really similar, but it was in the same vein. Fightful had noted in their their Wrestling Weekly, that Impact is planning a tape between today, which is February 9th for those of you listening, and between today and February 11th. So just some quick expectations of what you think might or could happen on the next set of tapings, Davey, just off the top of your head, things that could come to mind, and you could see happening as the next set of tapings unfold coming out of the No Surrender show.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they're going to... We're going to be talking about that Forbidden Door a lot on this show. Obviously, we had Private Party with Matt Hardy for the last set of tapings. On tonight's show, Tony Khan indicates that he's going to be on Impact again and wants to make his way to Nashville. So I assume he's going to be at those tapings. I would expect possibly some other AEW stars. Possibly it's time to see some of the women go over as well.
Yes.
That's what I'd like to see. I think I would, unless you're actually going to put the titles on Private Party, which I don't see happening, I see Private Party kind of being done after No Surrender, and then maybe a couple more talents being over there.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on the women. I know me and you have discussed that at various points throughout the times that we've done this podcast, that we think it's time for the women to kind of get involved in this whole crossover thing. I think a lot of people are waiting Britt Baker to pop up or somebody along those lines. I would also like to see Top Flight appear at the next Impact. I think it'd be good for them to get them reps in. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who pops up at the next set of tapings. And we definitely gonna find out next Tuesday following Hard to Kill.
I mean, I think
following No Surrender.
They're the talents you want to be sending over. I'd say like your Top Flights. Maybe like an Anna Jay or a Ty Conti, those who are good and they've got a name to themselves, that I think seeing them on Impact would kind of maybe move the needle a bit. But as you said, they're not kind of as experienced as some of the others and do need those reps. So they're absolutely the talents I'd like to see. But the most important thing I'd like to see with any wrestling show, if you're doing a set of tapings, I just want good wrestling. Good storytelling. That's the main thing. I don't care who's there. Just make it good,
You're asking for too much, Davey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, have you got any more news before we get into this week's show?
No, we don't. I think most of it we're going to dive into once we break down this show.
Well, let's get right to it. Impact Wrestling, February 9th, 2021. We start with an 8-man tag with pretty much the entire X division here, minus Rohit and TJP, it felt like. These are all the men who are going to be in your X division triple threat gauntlet match. Now, the way I believe this works is you start with 3 people in the ring. Once someone gets pinned, they're out of the match and someone else comes in, like a gauntlet match, to replace them. But you always have 3 people in the match until it gets to your final 3, when it's then a traditional triple threat and whoever scores the fall wins. That's going to be the X Division match on Saturday for No Surrender. No Surrender, Hard to Kill. No Surrender. You've got me going now.
Yeah, see.
What do you think of this match? It sounds maybe more complicated to explain than I think it will look in execution. I think it could actually work quite well if they don't overcomplicate things. What do you think of this triple threat gauntlet?
So when you initially hear about it, it sounds like very overcomplicated, and it just seems much easier to just do a traditional style gauntlet match when you start off with two people and then the next person comes out and the next person comes out. But I like that they're trying to do something different. I feel like once we see it and once we kind of see how the thing flows, then it'll be better. But like just hearing it already sounds kind of confusing. I remember when I wrote the story about it initially, I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? But I'm pretty sure they'll put it off. Like I'm pretty sure they probably got the the nuts and bolts of it down, and it's gonna be interesting to see how it kind of plays out as far as like the the match rules and things of the sort.
It's essentially like any of the games I put on this thing. When I read the rules, everyone is like, "What the fuck is this dude on about?" And then it starts, and they can be quite fun. Yeah, I think you could actually. I can see someone like an Ace Austin just using the kind of rules of the match to his advantage because it's not traditional triple threat where you're going to have to break up every fall. So it definitely allows the heels to kind of sit back on the outside and let two people in the ring go for it. I personally think it could be quite fun. And
I'm about to add on. I'm about to say you want to know what's cool about that? I think it'll give Ace Austin a nice little shot in the arm coming off of that thing with Matt Cardona. I feel like they kind of derailed his momentum just a teeny bit, like coming off of his Super X Cup win. So I think this will kind of bring him back to what he was prior to that.
Yeah, I almost completely forgot he won the Super X Cup. I wasn't. I don't think he even comes to the ring with it anymore, does he? It seems to be a thing of the past. So these are your competitors who will be in the X Division Triple Threat Revolver match this Saturday. It's Josh Alexander teaming with Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, and Suicide, taking on Chris Bay, Davari, Blake Christian, and Ace Austin. Felt kind of weird seeing Blake Christian on the heel team here, but as the match went on, it kind of made a bit more sense. So Alexander and Blake Christian start the match, and very soon Austin tags himself in. I was quite a big fan. I've been mentioning about wanting Josh Alexander to kind of change his look a bit. Still looks kind of the same, but I did appreciate the kind of Canadian maple leaf gear he wore here. I thought it looked very nice. And I was a big fan of Trey Miguel's Jordans here, like the mint green. I thought they looked very nice. Trey makes his way into the match. There's a lot of quick tags early in this match, just so you can visually see different combinations that could be on Saturday. I thought Austin and Trey Miguel had a really good exchange. Mac gets tagged in and goes for a tope suicida, but is kicked by Austin. Then Davari and Willie Mack go back and forth for a bit. Davari jumps off the top rope, but Mac manages to get the knees up. Then Trey Miguel and Blake Christian are tagged in, and this is where the match really steps up. Watching these two go at it was very entertaining, and I'd definitely like to see more from these two in the future. You get the neck crank from Trey, and then he catches one of Blake's kicks and turns it into this suplex, but with the leg hooked, and then managed to turn that right into like this sharpshooter into a Muta lock. I thought this looked very impressive from Trey Miguel here. Quite innovative. Do you remember the sequence I'm talking about here?
Yeah, Trey Miguel, like him, you mentioned it earlier. I feel like kind of harkening back to what we talked about as far as the podcast goes. Him speaking about why he decided not to go to WWE. I feel like even just seeing him in this spot and seeing him over the past couple of weeks since he came back, I feel like it was like the best decision for him to be in Impact, because we've seen and I don't know, is it just me, or is like some kind of like slightly different about Trey in the way he's being presented? Like he's kind of shining a bit more.
I feel he thinks he has a lot to prove now. Knowing that he left, they gave him a pretty big farewell, and now he's back, and it's not that long. He was only off a month or two, but I think the actual break kind of makes him seem like a bigger deal, and he definitely has been coming in with a lot of fire. I think this guy needs to be put in the actual world title picture very soon, because I kind of feel he's above the X Division now. There's this beautiful locomotive Northern Light suplex from Alexander, but when he goes for the second one, Davari breaks it up, but he manages to suplex both men, which look very cool. He goes into the ankle lock, but there's on Ace Austin, but there's a 450 from Blake Christian, which breaks it up. But in breaking it up, he lands on Ace Austin's leg. So Austin is now in the face of his partner, Blake Christian, mad that he kind of 450'd him. Mac comes in, hitting his cannonball, is standing moonsaults Christian. Just like any tag match in Impact Wrestling, this is where the referee just completely loses control and doesn't try to follow the rules at all. All the men are in there just getting in their stuff. Blake Christian hits an awesome-looking tope con hilo. There's a springboard flatliner to Trey, but it's kicked out. Trey's draped on the top rope, and Christian goes for another 450, but Trey moves out the way and then locks in the, I think Stryker called it the hourglass submission, which unfortunately they don't show replays, and I kind of didn't quite get what this move was, but it looked sort of like a figure four, but then he was applying pressure to the arms as well. Looked pretty good. And Trey picks up the win for his team in 12 minutes 54 seconds.
Yeah, man. So, because you see, because I feel like they should go all in with Ace Austin, but at the same time, I could kind of see them rocking with Trey, since he's kind of the hot one out of the group as far as momentum goes. But I do agree with you that he should be in the world title picture. But like seeing Trey get this win, it kind of make me think like, maybe they might just be, about to put the X Division title on Trey. You never know. But it was kind of cool seeing Sean Davari here too, because I know on the February 10th episode of MLW Fusion, he's gonna be wrestling as well. So it was kind of cool to see him, quote unquote double duty, because he's gonna be on Fusion tomorrow.
Right, with you. Yeah, I think looking at this, I know the big win before the pay-per-view normally means you're not gonna win, but I would go with Trey here. This is a number one contenders match, by the way, this Revolver.
Right.
So this will face the winner of TJP and Rohit Raju. I could see Trey Miguel Rohit perhaps as being the direction. I personally think Ace Austin needs to graduate now, and he's already flirted with that world title picture. I think that's where he should be. I think Blake Christian looks like a great addition to this X Division. And with the likes of him and the other guys you got here, Chris Bay, Suicide, I would say Trey Miguel wins this for an X Division shot, and you move Ace Austin up to the main event scene. That's how I see it.
Dave, I want to ask you something. So, do you think Rich Swann being of smaller stature compared to Moose, do you think having a world champion and it's just professional wrestling in general, just you're curious about your opinion, do you think having a smaller world champion kind of opens that door and makes it easier for people to buy into those matchups as far as like having another small competitor challenge for the world title, opposed to like, let's say if Moose was a challenger, you would probably think like, oh, maybe that X Division guy can't challenge for the title? Do you think it's like a kind of a subconscious thing that now we've had a champion who's not 6'3" or 6'4" to, and now we kind of, you can see Trey challenging for a world title, you can see Ace Austin challenging for the world title? You think it's kind of like that subconscious way of thinking?
Yeah, I don't mind a smaller guy going for the world title, but I feel once you have challenged for that should be kind of the division you're in. Like you see it in New Japan, like we're all kind of waiting for Hiromu to graduate and be a heavyweight, right? But he's still in that juniors division. We've seen the likes of Omega and Ospreay move up. And I think once you're in that mix of heavyweights, you kind of need to stay there. And that's kind of my issue with Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Trey Miguel, is we've seen them in the world title mix before. So, and then as you said, when you've got a smaller champion, it just seems that both these titles are kind of interchangeable a bit. So I don't mind smaller guys going for that top title, but I think once you're in that picture, that's where you should kind of stay.
I agree.
I enjoyed this match, though. I think one of the criticisms John and I had last week was how short every match was. And we kicked the show off here with a 13-minute match, no interruptions. And it got really good as the match got going. This is what I like. I thought this was a pretty hot opener to the show.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I remember when me, you, and Nate, we were kind of laughing about how Impact had like a a kind of string of not having hot openers to start their show, and we
Oh
were
yeah.
kind of making jokes about that. So it was cool to see this match, and it was a good match, man. It was good length, and it was a good, great way to start the show.
After the match, Sami Callihan shows up on the screen and congratulates Trey Miguel on his win. He says that's very impressive, but how long will it be until you flake on us again? You ain't got the passion and you will flake out again. You might as well save us all the embarrassment and quit now. I am not the biggest Sami Callihan fan in the world, but I think for a lot of the time I've been watching Impact, he's been feuding with these brawlers, and I feel the idea of him versus Trey Miguel seems very fresh, and I like the direction this is going.
Yeah, I definitely liked Sammy called him out on flaking out on Impact. I really liked that. That was a nice little bit of reality dumped in there, and I wonder where they'll go with this. Like it kind of like I know initially I was thinking when Trey got the win, I was like, oh yeah, Trey probably gonna win the number one contendership, but it might be something with Sammy coming out of No Surrender.
That's very true. It does seem like this is the next program, so perhaps you do go with Ace Austin, or maybe a complete outsider like a Blake Christian. We get our first video package of birthday messages to Tommy Dreamer, who's turned 50, and we get messages from pretty much the entire Impact roster here. And it finishes with Scott D'Amore, who says that Terry Funk showed the way that a 50-year-old can still win the championship, and therefore go and follow your dream, Tommy. That takes us to our next match from the Knockouts division, Kimberly being accompanied to the ring by Giona, Parazo, and Susan, taking on ODB, who returned to Impact last week. Obviously, I didn't join you last week when ODB made her return, so what are your thoughts on ODB and rejoining the Impact roster?
Obviously she's an Impact vet. You know, you hear all these great things about her as far as like what she adds to the locker room and just her hype level and always just being active. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a positive thing. But like as far as the in ring stuff, it like she can be used to help, I guess, bring some variety to the division. Maybe I don't know how much, but I mean it's something different. I guess I wasn't like really too into this match. I'm pretty sure we'll get into that, but it was like it was a bit long. This one here.
Yeah, so the match starts with Kimberly grabbing her chest like ODB does and tries to do the chest bump on ODB, but to no effect. ODB then does the chest bump and immediately knocks down Kimberly. At one point, ODB's on the turnbuckle, but gets knocked off face first into the mat. Kimber tries a body scissors, and we go to commercial break. After the commercial, ODB hits a pretty weak-looking Bronco Buster, which Kimberly kicks out of. We get a spinning roundhouse from Kimber, followed by a sidewalk slam. She goes to the top rope, but gets slammed off. That's when Susan gets on the apron to distract the ref. Giona on the other side tries to get involved, but Jazz and Jordan Grace run out to take her out. At one point, Susan throws a shoe. Who throws a shoe? At Giona, and ODB dives off the apron to take them both out. As she gets back into the ring, she's rolled up by Kimberly, and in 12 minutes, 24 seconds, Kimberly picks up the win. I like that this got time. I like that they're going for longer matches this week, but there wasn't a whole lot to this. I thought at times it looked quite slow. Some of the moves look quite sloppy. I often think Kimberly's kicks look great, and here they weren't quite connecting as well as they usually do. And then we get the typical kind of distraction finish. I hate roll-up finishes. I go on about this all the time, but I don't believe that, especially someone the size of ODB, can be surprised for 3 seconds without kicking out. Like, without being kind of smacked in the head or something before then. It was just a distraction and a roll-up. I just think it's a really weak finish. And we seem to see this every week. And we seem to see it every week with Susan and Giona, just these interferences or DQs. And it's not the only one we're going to get tonight. But this didn't really click for me, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Like, I mean, of course, I'm glad that they at least got time to work. Like, I think that's always good. But
Mm.
like, not every match needs to be, more than 6 or 7 minutes or more than 5 minutes. Like, you can get just as much done in a short match than you can a long match. And I felt like it could have been more effective. And to the point if they would have just got not straight to the end, but like if it had just tightened it up and made it more compact.
Yeah. We go to Swingers Palace, where we see Fallah Bahh, who's trying to play blackjack. You've got Johnny Bravo's the croupier, and says that it's cash only at Swingers Palace, as Fallah Bahh tries to buy in with a cookie that's already been bitten into. So Johnny Swinger comes out and kicks out Fallah Bahh. Bahh asks if he can have a loan, and Swinger pulls out the stolen money. Yes, the same wad of cash that's been going around the locker room since those arm wrestles between Rhino and Hernandez. He tells the girls to go and take out Fallah Bahh, and as Fallah Bahh's leaving, Bravo grabs the cookie and keeps it as Fallah Bahh screams, "Not the cookie! Not the cookie!" And Bravo decides, during a global pandemic, to bite into a half-bitten cookie.
Mm-hmm.
And Swinger finishes by asking Alicia Edwards if she's single, which clearly he hasn't been watching the show for the last few years. Typical kind of lower card comedy segment here. What did you make of it?
Not much. I was about to make a joke about how I can't wait for Alicia Edwards to win the Impact Knockouts Championship so we can do a podcast together, Davey.
Oh boy, don't even put that in the universe, Andrew. Yeah, I do feel that they've started to kind of cut down the length of these like backstage comedy segments. There was a point in the summer where the whole show seemed to be taken up by like Johnny Swinger's antics and the kind of Wrestle House crew. But that being said, there wasn't anything particularly funny in this. It kind of goes to what you were saying about the last match. You can cut it down in time, but you want the content to be good, and there wasn't really anything here for me.
Yeah, I was gonna give you your props on something because I remember when this was before this podcast was named Deep Impact with me, and you just reviewed the show, and I remember you told me some along the lines of like, yes, Swinger is funny, but like after a while it kind of gets like and like now I kind of see what you're talking about. Like, and you didn't say it wasn't like not funny still. It's just like after a while, after seeing it, quite a few times, it kind of gets like, okay, you know what I'm saying? I was kind of getting that thing with Swinger here tonight, and I still think he's funny, but it's like it's not as funny as it was in the prior weeks.
I feel he works better when he's with more serious characters as well.
Yes.
I think when you've got all these characters that they're trying to make comedic, that they've been trying for the last few weeks to make Alicia Edwards a comedy character. Johnny Bravo's obviously a comedy character. They're trying it with Fallah Bahh, and it feels diluted, and therefore Swinger just seems like another comedy character with these guys. Whereas I do think he's usually funnier, but this unfortunately was a bit of a miss. We go backstage where Susan is with Giona, Parazo, and Kimberly, and she's furious. She's saying it was chaotic out there, it was not good. Giona convinces her that Jazz and ODB are nothing to worry about, and they're just trying to live out their glory days. But Susan's not having it and says that she needs to talk to the manager. She wants to talk to manager, and she wants a 6 knockouts tag match added to No Surrender. So she goes off to get the match made, and Giona and Kimberly don't seem too happy about it. And it is confirmed later that night that at No Surrender, we will get Giona Parazo, Kimberly, and Susan taking on Jazz, ODB, and Jordan Grace.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I feel like Giona hasn't had a singles program for that title for a while.
David, I know me and you literally just talk about it. It's time, bro, for the crossover. Like, she needs an opponent from AEW, like somebody fresh.
I feel that's what it must be, because they've only got Jordan Grace built up to that level so far to take on Giona, unless you end up doing the eventual turn and you have Kimberly challenge, but she doesn't seem on that level. It really feels like Jordynne Grace and Giona Parazo are kind of an island of their own in this division. Yeah. So I'm completely with you. I would have maybe for the Rebellion. Is that the next big pay per view?
Yeah.
Maybe we can get one of the AEW women over, or at least for like a TV feud or something.
Something. But I agree with you, man. Like you said earlier, Anna Jay, Tay Conti, somebody, man. Like maybe not the top of the charts as far as AEW's women's division goes, but somebody you can bring in for a 4-week program or a pay-per-view that people will be interested in. Big Swole, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who isn't regularly featured on Dynamite who can again use those reps and come in for a nice program with Deonna.
Do you know Chris Statlander's status? She must be like
so she
soon, right?
Yeah, so she's been doing she did quite a few interviews like late 2020, and she's been saying like kind of the same thing, all good things, of course, that she's just working it out, torn ACL, I believe. I'm pretty sure we all know that's something real difficult to come from, especially when you in professional wrestling. So I mean, well, just from hearing her and from the interviews that she did, she just seemed like she was progressing and just taking it a day at a time. But I think she should be back, sometime soon. Like I would say before the summer, maybe like around that time, maybe May or something along those lines.
Oh, she's saying that she's been in Being the Elite recently, so
yeah,
she must be almost ready to come back. But yeah, that would be someone I'd be interested in sending over. And as you mentioned, Big Swole, I think is quite a big name in AEW who's not doing anything. So
right.
I feel she'd be good, and also got a great personality. So she's absolutely someone who could get a big kind of title feud out Deonna and make it interesting. We go to the ring where cousin Jake comes out.
Yes.
He's still got his Dina's, Dina family, Titantron. It even says Cody Dina at one point on the Titantron. He comes out, gets on the mic, and says, "I thought I had it all figured out, and then I was betrayed. Now I see there's another path, and I could be with my family again. I can be with my family again, but it's not the way I thought it would be." And that's when Violent by Design comes out. Eric Young says, "You've had time to think about this, and I can see that you start to understand what's going on. Every fiber of your being is telling you what the right answer is. Open your eyes and see the truth and be the real you, the best version of Jake. This is the moment where you take ownership and control and take back your life." So this has been the story over the last couple of months where Cody Dina turned his back on his cousin Jake to join Eric Young and form Violent by Design. And over the last couple of weeks, they've been trying to recruit Jake. And this was the big answer this week. So Jake is left in the ring and he's thinking, do I join my cousin but kind of turn to the dark side, or do I go on my own? So Jake takes off his vest, his kind of Dina-style vest, and throws it to the mat. He's holding the Violent by Design towel, so he's indicating that he's going to join them. But then he says, "They say if you don't stand for something, you haven't fought for anything. Or I stand for something. I stand for Jake something." He throws the towel at Dina, jumps Dina, but then gets attacked by Violent by Design, who beat him down. They place a steel chair around his neck, and Eric Young's going to... No, I think it's Joe Doring is going to stomp on it, but Dina gets them to stop. And he says, "Stop, I want to do this." So Eric Young says, "Okay, this is a family business. You made the wrong choice, Jake. And at No Surrender, it will be Dina versus Jake something." Thoughts on this?
Big pop, Davey. Big pop on the out. I stand for Jake something. That was chef's kiss right there. I know me and you been talking about it for a minute. This should have happened a long time ago, but I'm kind of glad it happened. Like where it's happened, so he's gonna get his big singles re-debut, I guess is what you could call it. as under Jake something. So hopefully he'll have new theme music. Go back to his, I guess, the attire that he wears on the independent scene. Dude, Jake something is a star. I think we can all see it. Like, got the look, got the move set. He can move for a big guy. Literally got everything. So it's good to see that this is finally happened after weeks of trying to will this into existence verbally.
Yeah, I really think he needs to win this as well. I don't want to. You can always have Dina win by cheating and that, but I feel Jake should be the project here, and I think you just give him a big win. And I really hope these two kind of tear it down, because I think we both see something in Jake. Here, I thought his promo was okay. I liked kind of I like the lines. I like the whole, if you don't stand for something, you're not fighting. Well, I stand for something. I thought that was a great line. I could have done with maybe a bit more kind of conviction in his voice for it. But this is a guy that I haven't seen do a great deal of promos. It tended to be Cody doing a lot of the talking. So kind of the first time I've seen him do a big promo like this. And I thought he did an all right job, but there's room to grow, and hopefully he'll get more comfortable in it as it goes on. But yes, seems like they're doing the right move here with this feud, and it makes sense to put on the pay-per-view.
That Hoss match with Jake something and Joe Doring is definitely coming. That is definitely coming.
Absolutely. Which is why I feel he should win. He should beat Dina and then Doring, and then Young should be the kind of final boss, right?
Yeah, of course. I think that's the way to go. I was gonna add, like, I saw something funny over the past couple of days. Somebody said that they think Steve Cutler, that just got released from WWE, they think he should once his 90-day non-compete is up, he should join Impact and try to be a part of the Violent by Design. But I was like, dude, like he legitimately looks exactly like Cody Deaner, so I don't think that's gonna work at all. Like if you haven't seen these two dudes, like, they look exactly alike. Steve Cutler looks like a bigger version of Cody Deaner, and I don't think that's gonna work out. So I don't think that's gonna do Cody any favors. But Jake something and him and Cody at No Surrender. I'm looking forward to that. I think they. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're gonna go out there and try to deliver their best performance, but I think Jake something should get the win. And just like you said, he should go through Joe Doring and then Eric Young be the quote unquote final boss to, solidify himself in Impact as a singles competitor.
You're right. Steve Cutler looks just like ODD now with that shaved head. Do you see Steve Cutler going to Impact? I mean, obviously Giona's there. Do you see that being a thing?
I could see that happening. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people would want to be near their significant other, so can, I guess, be on the road with them to a capacity, travel with them, I guess. But yeah, besides that, I could see him landing an Impact. He like I think he has the benefit of not really being featured on WWE programming as often, so he kind of won't have that thing that is like hovering over Matt Cardona. Like, Matt Cardona's like always going to be a WWE guy in the eyes of a lot of people, and I don't think that will happen to Steve Cutler because he wasn't featured prominently.
Yeah, I feel Cutler's someone who would really benefit from an independent run. Because I do think he's kind of, even in the Forgotten Sons, he was kind of the most forgotten one, because you had Blake, who is part of Blake and Murphy, so you knew him from the tag team. Jackson Riker's obviously like quite impressive looking, like he stands out. Steve Cutler was always quite bland, and I feel like an independent run would really help him. Whereas I almost feel if he were to go to Impact, it's kind of a name where people would just go, "Oh, Impact." They'll just take anyone who used to work for WWE, And I feel he kind of needs to prove himself a bit and discover himself a little bit more, because Steve Cutler's been in the company in WWE for quite a few years now. And can you say anything about his character?
He has been in WWE for a minute now,
a long time.
Like, I'm pretty sure most of, like, Davey, you and Braden covering Impact. I mean, covering the NXT extensively. I'm pretty sure you guys have memories of Steve Cutler pre the Forgotten Sons, when he was just enhancement talent basically, and just the guy to get over the bigger stars on the roster at the time. So he's been with WWE for a while. So I definitely think that you spot on in the fact that he should take on the independent scene before going to Impact, because like again, I agree. I think they're just gonna say, oh yeah, another guy that just got released from WWE who Impact's willing to take.
Yeah, just do Spring Break and do something
There you
ridiculous
go.
there and get your name out there, and people will be like, whoa, Steve Cutler, what have we been missing all these years? Wow. Yeah. Spring Break's happening, isn't it? That's the kind of breaking news coming out. Yeah, I wonder what insane matches we're going to have announced for that this year. I've still got my ticket from last year's that I never went to. We go backstage with Rohit Raju, who is calling out TJP, and he says, when I was X Division champion, you couldn't beat me. I gave you purpose, and you had to turn to your monster, Manic. Well, now I have Shira to have my back, and there will be no mercy for you, and I will become 2-time X Division champion. This was really short and sweet, but delivered perfectly. Hype you up for the match. I thought this was a good kind of 30-second promo here from Rohit.
Rohit is the man, bro.
He's great. He's really, really come into his own this last year.
But I still don't know why they took the title off him. Like I still don't. I think he should have had like a very lengthy run as Impact X Division champion. But I definitely think like just from his delivery, and no, of course this show is tape, but I mean, just seeing his delivery and the way that he's been presented on television over the past several weeks or so, coming out of Hard to Kill, like I definitely could see him, becoming a 2-time X Division champion.
He's just very confident on the mic. He kind of like I was saying about Jake something earlier, where you can see it's not natural to him, the speaking. Rohit is someone who's just a very natural talker, very good promo, and proves himself in the ring. He's put on some great matches in the last year or so. So I'm with you. I'd put the title back on him.
I'm about to say, David, you want to know what's crazy? Like something just came to mind literally as you said that about Rohit being comfortable on the mic. I remember I interviewed him back in February of 2020. It's almost to the date actually. I interviewed him, and he was talking about how he just wished that Impact. I think this was at the time when he was either coming off of or still in Desi Hit Squad, and he was just like, he just wished that Impact would just notice the stuff that he was doing on the independent scene, like in AAW and various other promotions, and just like watch him on the mic, and that would just immediately spark an idea in the brain to just give him an open mic on Impact TV. And he was like, me and him had a whole like 30-minute discussion about how he just wished that he could have the opportunity to, freely speak on Impact, and just like Impact just cut him loose and just like let him go. And like it's kind of cool to see a full year later, even though he was doing, he kind of got that opportunity in the summer of 2020. It's kind of cool to see like a full year later, like he's kind of spoken into existence as far as like what he wanted, and it's like fully happening now, and he's killing it.
100%. And I would give a lot of credit to Scott D'Amore, because he's a character who is very good on the mic and can do the bantering with the heels really well. And I think you watched Rohit improve so much with all his dealings with D'Amore going back and forth. I'd say the same with the likes of kind of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, as we see later. D'Amore just can really get that extra something out of the heels and go back with them to kind of give them fuel. I think he's kind of a bit of an unsung hero in Impact Wrestling when it comes to promos and stuff. We go to Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone, one of our favorite segments every week. They are stood in the middle of the TIA Stadium field for Jacksonville Jaguars. Tony Khan is wearing this like bomber jacket with the Jaguars all over it. It looked really nice. I want this jacket.
About to say, with the biggest smile on his face, Tony Khan, he is such it's the character. Tony, he's such an a-hole, bro. Like
it's every week. Did you catch last week with Drunk Tony? Drunk Emotional Tony?
I did not see that. I gotta go see that.
Andrew, you got to go back and watch this. It's him and Tony Schiavone drinking pina coladas out of a coconut, and Tony Khan is just kind of slurring his words and saying that he makes emotional decisions. It was very, very funny. But here he's wearing a very nice looking jacket and aviators, some sunglasses on the field at nighttime, just being a complete douche. He says, last week we saw Kenta from New Japan Pro Wrestling attack Mox on Dynamite. The forbidden door has been opened. He goes, tell me, Shivani, what is the forbidden door? Well, I'll tell you. People keep asking me when the forbidden door will be open. And all along, I was the forbidden door. I've opened myself up for new experiences. And you know what? We got a great rating last week. So who knows who will show up next? The forbidden door has now been opened. And then he runs down tomorrow's Dynamite, including the Falls Count Anywhere match between Omega and Kenta taking on Mox and Archer. We've got Darby Allin versus Janela for the TNT title. Jericho and MJF versus the Acclaimed. Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson taking on Pretty Peter Avalon and Cesar Bononi. Puck versus Ryan Nemeth. An interview with Sting. And Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa in the first round of the Women's Eliminator Tournament. Khan finishes by saying, Kenny, I have to say thank you to you and Don Callis for everything you've done. You've changed me and opened me up. You've opened up the forbidden door. Let's do this every week. I can't wait. I'm going to show you, Impact, that the forbidden door opens both ways, and I'll be back in Nashville. So, yeah, just openly talking about the forbidden door here and quite heavily hinting we're going to see a lot more crossovers in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I definitely think Tony Khan got some, he got some stuff up his sleeve. Like, because I remember he said back in, what was that, November? He was like, yeah, I got some aces up my sleeve or something along those lines. And, at first I was kind of like, he's a promoter. Why wouldn't he say that? But obviously he, because he got some things in his back pocket. So, but Davey, can you imagine hearing that main event match on Dynamite in 2018? Like, just even hearing the thought of that, like Kenny Omega and Kenta versus John Moxley, formerly Dean Ambrose, and Lance Archer. Like, that is that shit.
This,
like, dude.
Yeah, everything is so bizarre at the moment. Watching that last man standing match from the Royal Rumble, and there's a bit where you see Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns climbing over screens of fans in the crowd and like hitting each other. And you think, just show this visual to me 2 years ago, and I'd have gone, what the fuck happened? Like, it's so surreal. And then you're right, just seeing all these matches. So yeah, Dean Ambrose against Kenta and Kenny, like, essentially it's bizarre, but I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow's Dynamite. They didn't quite get their digs in this week. This wasn't quite as funny as previous weeks, but I did like the kind of promise that we're going to be seeing more crossovers and more crazy things happening coming up.
Yeah, I kind of like that they kind of scale back on the digs a little bit. Like, I like them, of course, but like I feel like it. I don't think it like damages it. But I don't think anybody takes it like that seriously. Like, as far as the digs go, but like I feel like it was kind of good to see like them not like completely trashing Impact, or Impact showing Impact not having any rebuttal at all. So I think that was kind of like, something decent that they kind of scaled back on that. But I was gonna ask you, David, real quick, like seeing like all these partnerships, right? Like seeing New Japan affiliated with AEW in some way, shape, or form through Kenta and John Moxley. Like, do you think you could ever see WWE getting to a point where they're like, all right, now, like we got to jump in this somehow, some way, and get involved with somebody to make our product more interesting? Do you think WWE will always keep that door closed as far as allowing another promotion or another company access to their wide fan base or large fan base that they have obtained over the past however many years?
Under its current administration, no.
All right.
I could see if it is like Triple H taking over eventually.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely see him being interested, because I think he's a bit of a wrestling nerd, you know. I think he loves his wrestling and would be interested in that kind of thing. But I think Vince at this point doesn't. I mean, we've just had the earnings reports again and stuff, and you know, it's just a machine now. It doesn't really matter what the product is, I feel.
Very true.
And you've just got to look at the ratings and stuff like that. I mean, there's been money on the table with the likes of like a New Day Elite crossover at some point. That's been somewhat pitched, I believe, in the past, but nothing's ever come from it. I think it would make sense eventually, absolutely, some kind of crossover. And to think they did it years ago with kind of New Japan, and I think they've crossed over with All Japan before, but back then you didn't have the internet where everything was so accessible. So you bring over like a big Japanese name to WWF back then, it means nothing to most fans. Whereas today, you can just, if you were to bring over, just off the top of my head, like an Okada, you can so easily see all of his work and see quite quickly how this is a big deal. Whereas in the 90s, it wasn't so much the same. But I don't see it happening at the moment with Vince being in charge. But I could see, like, in 10 years' time or whatever, a change in attitude for sure. We go now for... the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers are backstage ahead of their tag team title defense against Chris Sabin and James Storm. Cole Anderson calls out Storm and Sabin and says they're the most decorated tag team wrestlers, but they're not the tag champs. They're not the Machine Gun and the Big LG. You're not the Good Brothers. We're going to do our favorite thing in the world, beat up Storm and Sabin. Gallows then says that tonight, Sabin and Storm, it's going to be the exact same thing that will happen to Private Party at No Surrender. It'll be a magic killer, a 1, 2, 3, and a just too sweet. Standard Good Brothers promo here, but pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, standard Good Brothers promo. Them doing their little stick that they do, and you know, just a Good Brothers promo. I think that's the best way to describe it.
They've got it down by now.
Yeah.
After a few years, yeah, they've got it down. We go to our next match of the evening. Kiera Hogan taking on Nevaeh. Now, Fire and Flavor, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz are your Knockouts tag team champions, having beaten Havoc and Nevaeh in the finals, but the feud has been continuing. You had Havoc beat Steelz last week, and now we've got Kiera Hogan taking on Nevaeh. Kiera Trey.
Dave, before we get into it, I was gonna ask you, have you seen any of the well, I wouldn't even call it a back and forth, but Kiera's her subtle shots at Sasha Banks, or them having their little, well, I can't even call it an exchange because I haven't seen anything from Sasha Banks, but I was like, have you seen any of that on Twitter?
I haven't. I literally heard about it just before Impact started tonight. Like they were calling her out on Instagram Live or something was the last I heard.
So I had saw a couple of tweets about it. So I just, you just easily just search both of their names on Twitter, and then some would come up, and I had saw like a 30-second clip of Kiera and Tasha talking about the situation with Sasha Banks, or their issue with her, and it, like basically from like what I took from it, they met Sasha a few times, and apparently Sasha's not a pleasant person to deal with in person, from what I took, and they are not fond of her. And Kiera kind of mentioned something about Sasha not being completely, I guess, like transparent and open about her depression and mental health, like how Kiera is very open with her fans about it. Like kind of compared, that was kind of something that was kind of like I guess kind of weird, like to compare like mental health struggles and how people take those things and speak about it publicly, but that's their business at the end of the day. But yeah, it just seemed like they just weren't that fond of Sasha Banks at all. Like she specifically mentioned that they met or they ran into each other a few times, and I'm from what they say, that Sasha Banks is not a pleasant person to interact with.
I mean, I'm not denying anything. If that's what they believe, then fine. But I don't see what Kiera Hogan gains by making that public. You know, like
It's like especially if the other person not responding, bro. It's like just let it go.
like surely a Kiera Hogan has bigger dreams than Impact Wrestling,
Of
right?
course,
Like,
got
why
to.
would you go for? Why would you go after someone who's probably going to main event one of the WrestleManias this year? You know,
And
like
someone
that
you
could
might be
close
working
one of
with.
the nights, and you think, okay, we're going to go for one of the biggest stars in the company. It's like,
Right.
what are you going to achieve from it? Just looking through I'm looking on Twitter now. Like all the comments are pretty unfavorable towards Kiera right now, and I
Mm.
love Kiera. I think she's great, and I think she should absolutely be in a WWE or AEW one day. But I don't see how this helps anyone.
It doesn't do anything. Like it especially makes like just in any social media interaction. Like if you continuously go at whoever and then they don't respond to you or give you any type of acknowledgement, like and you continue to try to go into that, it just doesn't look good. And then considering that they could be um, you know, colleagues one day. You just never know. Like I don't think that's something you want to come into a company with if she is indeed, no, she might want to ride it out with Impact, but I mean, you never know what could happen in 4 or 5 years from now. Like, so I don't think that would be a favorable thing to come into a company where one of their biggest stars is, you got an issue with them off the bat and it's already public.
WWE doesn't need her. That's the thing.
Eh,
Like I
eh,
think she's great, and I think she'd do great there, but they don't need her. So why would you put someone in your on your roster who's going to ruffle the feathers of one of your top stars?
right.
It makes no sense to me.
And this is the first time either. I think this has happened quite a few times in the past, like these comments. So yeah, it's like you said, I don't think it's doing anybody any favors.
I wonder how much of it. I mean, they're quite similar character wise, I'd say. And even look with the blue hair and stuff. I wonder how much is just it. It
Get the
just
compare
looks like Kira's going after a better version of herself, you know?
the you think it's more of the like for real, I think what it is like more so of the social media thing. Like people like I remember the first time like recently I've seen of this back and forth was like I guess they had like similar outfits on a show. I'm like,
Right.
like you can't get mad at something. Like if I see somebody walking on the street with the same jeans as me, you know what I'm saying? It's like what you like, you know what I'm saying? Like
For
I
sure,
don't think
yeah.
it's not that big a deal, but everybody takes stuff differently. But like the only thing I didn't agree with from that video was kind of like comparing like how people publicly or not publicly talk about their mental health issues. I'm like, I don't think that's, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that's not it. I don't think you go there if you got an
Mhm.
issue with somebody. Like, if you want, just keep it within the confines of what it is. But like when you start talking about how people need to be more open about their mental health or, stuff like that, I don't think that's not cool.
For sure, absolutely. Well, we go to the match, and Kiera is trying to choke Nevaeh with her boot in the corner. She misses a roundhouse kick and kind of rolls through and gets a kick to the chest from Nevaeh. Nevaeh face plants Kiera for a 2. She connects with a roundhouse and follows up with a quite weak looking cover that the commentary team pull up on for only a 2 count. There's a suplex counter to a roll up for a 2 from Kiera, the STO from Nevaeh, and that's when Tasha Steelz gets on the apron, and Havoc is with the ref, trying to get the ref to see what's going on. The ref turns around to see Tasha hit a code breaker to Nevaeh, and Nevaeh wins via DQ in 5 minutes 44. I am done with these 4 women.
Yeah, Dave. I know me and you again. This is another thing. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I know I've said quite a few times, even during this show, that me and you have talked about something in the past because we indeed have. Like we've said, like even weeks ago, like it was time to maybe even involve another team in this
Yeah.
to kind of have somebody to fall back on in terms of like after the eventual tag title match, which they've announced for No Surrender being Kiera and Tasha versus Nevaeh and Havoc. Like I think this would have been a good time to maybe to introduce another team into this so they can have like a fallout team coming out of the Impact Plus show. Like this whole thing between them, I think it started good as far as Kiera and Tasha picking up a win in the finals of the Knockouts Tag Title Tournament, and then we had the Fire and Flavor Fest that was less than enjoyable, and then it just hasn't progressed well, and I think they just need to, for all parties' sake, just need to move on and find the next thing.
This has been going on since the summer, this
Yeah.
feud. It's been going on so long, and the matches have got worse, I think. I thought this was kind of sloppy in places here, and then just the most obvious DQ finish. It was just so lazy, the way they finished this match. 5 minutes 44. Again, you've just got another distraction DQ finish on the show. It wasn't good.
Yeah, say Dave, I was gonna ask you when this match started, did you kind of get the same feeling? It's like, oh, this is probably gonna end up DQ, bleeding into a title match being set up and no surrender.
100%. You know it's gonna happen. It's paint by numbers at this point. You see where it's going. And yeah, I didn't think the body of the match was particularly good either, unfortunately. But yeah, that's we'll get to it later, but that match is set. Let's just go over that segment now because it's the same bit. Fire and Flavor knock on Scott D'Amore's office, and they say that they have an issue with the official Brandon Toll because Steele's lost to Havoc last week when Brandon Toll was ref, and Kiera lost to Nevaeh this week. So Scott D'Amore says, "Oh, well, that's fine. We won't have Brandon Toll be the referee in your match against Havoc and Nevaeh at No Surrender." And Scott slams the door on them. So it's official. They've both lost to Havoc and Nevaeh over the last few weeks, so obviously they get a title match, and Brandon Toll won't be the ref.
Davey, I see what you mean. Like by when you say Scott D'Amore, he's very good at interacting with heels.
Oh yeah, it's similar. He gets a bit more animated than William Regal, but I think Regal's very good at it as well. And back in the early 2000s, Mick Foley, when he was the commissioner, I thought he was always great. I'd say characters like Kurt Angle and Edge and Christian, Foley got a lot out of. He got them to that place by just going back and forth with them. So yeah, you could definitely see it with D'Amore here.
Yeah, 100%.
We go to celebrate Tommy Dreamer's birthday with some more video messages, but this time it's from the AEW roster. It starts with MJF and Jericho just lounging in their room. MJF says, "Hey, Tommy Dreamer, you worthless piece of shit. Happy birthday." Taz wishes him luck in his upcoming world title match. You have Arn and Tully wishing him well. MJF says, "There ain't no way you're winning that title on Saturday." Matt Hardy's thanking him for all the things he's done for his career over the years. You got Nick Jackson wishing him a happy birthday. Eddie Kingston says he can't believe he made it to 50. Jericho Jericho says you can be like he who should not be named back in 2007 and 08. Another old wrestler who had held on way too long. But we have rules about that, Andrew. You've got Proud and Powerful wishing him a happy birthday. And then I think Jericho says, like, "Oh, I helped you get a job in WCW and WWE, and well, now you're going to be champion." But it was quite cool seeing all the AEW guys on Impact here.
Man, Eddie Kingston got me. Like he broke me on this one. I'm not gonna lie. When he said that he can't believe Tommy made it to 50, and then when they cut back to Eddie, he looked like he was ready to walk off, and then the camera was still on. He was like, "Are we done?" He was like, "You want me to keep putting him over?" And then they just immediately cut the feed. That was hilarious, bro. Like Eddie Kingston is great, but yeah, this whole thing, this whole stretch of people was I think it was a good mix. I think Matt Hardy like immediately insulted Tommy Dreamer like as soon as he started off. He called him like a piece of shit, and like I was like, God damn, like y'all starting off rough on Dreamer, man. But you can just tell like Dreamer's one of those dudes who just like beloved by everybody. You can tell he's well liked. Everybody likes Dreamer, so that you can just see it through this segment that people are willing to joke with dude and make these lighthearted jokes and stuff like that. Or not even lighthearted, but some kind of cruel jokes in there a little bit. But yeah, Dreamer's like, man, everybody knows that.
Yeah, this is a segment I might go back and rewatch later because I think I missed a bunch of it. MJF was just ruthless with Dreamer here, and yeah, the Eddie Kingston, just the camera kept rolling, and you see him, he's such a good talker, and he's like, no, I've said it all, I've got nothing else. Happy birthday, whatever. Come on. We go to the ring where we have AC Romero, Larry D, Tennille Dashwood, and Caleb with a K. And Larry D says, we found someone to take care of Rosemary for us. Tennille says that Decay is an awful name for a team. It's that gross thing that grows on your teeth, is it not? She says a dentist is what they need. Take a look at this team. And then come No Surrender, no one is insane enough to team with you. Caleb says that he's not wrestling at No Surrender, but he will have a match tonight, and calls out any member of Decay. I feel we should read into that dentist line.
Dude, that's why I made the sound. I was like, was I the only one that was thinking that? I was like, or was I looking too much into it?
I just feel it's when you've got this crossover and we know there's a famous dentist who works for the other team. It kind of seems that's where they're going. And also I kind of can see Britt Baker and Tennille Dashwood being some sort of team. That kind of makes sense to me, actually.
Hey, Davey, what weren't Britt and Tennille and Ring Ronda together at the same time?
Oh, true. Yeah. Yes.
I think so. Was Tennille after Britt? I think they were there at the same time. I think they were.
Was Tennille in that all-in match?
No, it was Chelsea, Madison Rain, Tessa, and
that's
Britt.
Right, and Britt. Okay,
but Tennille was in Ring of Honor in 2018. She was there. So yeah,
okay, so maybe
they had to be.
The only issue is Rosemary doesn't Tyra's gone now, so it's just Rosemary and Steve. So I don't know where Britt would fit in, but that seemed like too big of a clue to just throw out there saying dentist. And they said it more than once as well.
But I think that'd be a good match.
Sorry, what? Rosemary versus Britt?
Oh no, Britt versus Tennille. I think like I know that. I know it could be either way. Like if we are like looking deep into this, like a tag team thing, like maybe. But I'm just saying, like just on the singles front, I think that'd be a solid match between them.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's one of your bigger names in AEW to bring over. So it would have to be, that would have to be a pay-per-view thing, I would think. Yeah, I feel Britt's maybe a bit above some of the talent we've been saying should come over, but I mean, if you're having Kenny cross over and you want a kind of main event woman, I'd say Britt fits into that quite well. So Decay comes out, and Rosemary says that we did find someone to team with us, and it's past this person's feeding time. And out comes Black Taurus. Have I said that right? I thought it was just Black Taurus, but Black Taurus.
Yeah, you got it right.
I got it right. Awesome. Triple A's Black Taurus. Yes, it's a man dressed as a bull, but a bit better than Mantar back in the day. So it's Caleb with a K versus Black Taurus. Taurus hits this crazy-looking Samoan drop. Looked awesome. And then finished with this kind of spinning slam. It kind of Tour of the Islands-esque, it reminded me of. And picks up the win in 53 seconds. I thought Black Taurus looked awesome here. And I wonder if this is a permanent move to Impact or just like a couple of shows deal or whatever. But I thought he looked great here.
Yeah, man. He really showed out. I think this is a good way to present him. The squash match. This is exactly what it needed to be. He needed to dominate, and I know me and you talked about it off air. We both kind of like scratched our heads a little bit. We was like, is this his debut? And then we immediately remembered that he had been with Impact a couple years ago when they were taping out in Mexico. And Dave, it's kind of crazy, bro, because when you realize how interconnected all of these companies are, like AEW is working with AAA, obviously with Kenny Omega being the mega champion. Impact has a working relationship with AAA. Impact is working with AEW. Like it's kind of crazy, like how we talk about the forbidden doors and these connections so much, but it's kind of crazy to realize how much of these companies are like interconnected with each other, and how maybe that one company being tied to another has led to that door opening to another company working with another company. Like it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial for everyone, and I think maybe companies are starting to see that the best way to be able to compete, because WWE is still so ahead of everyone else.
Yeah,
The best
yeah,
way to compete is by everyone joining, and it's giving everyone exposure. It's gonna give kind of your lesser wrestlers maybe a bigger payday, and maybe can bump up what they're kind of owed on independence and things like that. I think it's only a good thing. And as you said, it's now what AAA, NWA,
Impact.
Impact, New Japan, AEW.
It's
Whether
great.
we'll get Ring of Honor in there at some point as well, who knows? But yeah, I think it's only a good thing, and it makes it very exciting to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because it's pretty much anyone who's not in WWE, you go, well, there's a chance we could see this match, which is pretty cool. We're backstage and we see Brian Myers still sporting his eye patch, and he gives Hernandez cash for helping him out on the attack last week of Matt Cardona and Eddie Edwards. Hernandez says that he's kind of mad that there's now been this tag match made, and he wants to be paid the money up front. Myers says that he'll give him half of the cash now and half after they win the tag match. And then we see Fallah Bahh, who is looking on in the distance as he needs money to gamble with. So it looks like we're going back to Hernandez with a wad of cash that's going to be passed around, I guess. This story, yeah. What is with all this money in Impact? They really can't be paying these wrestlers well.
David, do you remember when me and you talked about the kind of backstage segment that Fallah had with Brian Myers when I said that I liked how Fallah kind of showed like some intensity in his promo, and he like sounded real serious. I was like, dude, come on, like how do you go from that to him immediately going right back into the comedy thing? Like, I'm not saying the characters can have different layers, of course, but like I was like, damn, like Fallah was like really starting to like I was like really starting to get interested in Fallah, and then now I'm seeing him like he chasing around with this damn wad of cash that's been floating around for Lord knows how long and been in how many pockets in a pandemic, and people done touched it, or everybody done touched the wad of cash. I'm just joking, but like yeah, man, I was kind of disappointed, like just seeing like how Fallah had that really really good segment with Brian Myers, and then like how he kind of just like immediately transitioned right back into the comedy phase.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's I think this is kind of death for anyone who's in this story when it comes to this money thing. I'm just looking. So this original feud over the money, and I guess this is new money now because this is now Myers' money that he's paying Hernandez. But this original feud started with Rhino and Hernandez. They had their match. So bear in mind, this story already started before this. But they had this match for this wad of cash July 14th last year. And it's now February and we're still doing this. It's 7 months this story's been going. Long-term storytelling, guys.
Long-term storytelling, Davey. Right on the head, brother.
We go to our main event of the evening. James Storm and Chris Sabin, the beer guns, if you will, taking on the Good Brothers for the Impact Tag Team Championship. The match starts with the Beer Guns making very quick tags, and they isolate Anderson and are double teaming Carl Anderson for a long, long time. Gallows tries to come in at one point, but they send him right to the outside with double clotheslines. Anderson eventually rakes the eyes of Sabin and manages to make the tag to Gallows. And that's when we see the Hardy Party, Matt Hardy with Private Party, coming out to the stage to observe the match as they're going to be taking on the winners at No Surrender. Storm gets tagged in and has a great hot tag. For a guy this size, this guy can move pretty quick, and it's a nice looking tilt-a-whirl leg scissors, and that's when we get interference number 3 of the night. Private Party interfere, causing the DQ, so Chris Sabin and James Storm win in 12 minutes 10 seconds. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised by the DQ finish, because I think that's to become expected in TV wrestling these days, but I kind of thought the body of the match was a bit dull, and I thought we'd get a bit more out of these guys.
That's interesting, because I felt like it started to pick up maybe a little bit, like right around the time when the DQ interference happened. Like I don't, like I was kind of getting into it a little bit, and I like when Private Party interrupted, I was like, damn, really? Like you interrupted there? Like, but I mean, you know, but like I kind of figured like once they came down, it was probably going to be something along those lines with a DQ finish. And you know, James Storm and Chris Sabin were going to be added to this match, because I mean, I'm pretty sure like the Private Party's not getting pinned. They're not taking the pin in this.
Right. Okay.
So James Storm and Chris Sabin, one of them are getting pinned for sure. But I think it's either going to be, I think the Good Brothers are going to retain Impact pins Impact, and I don't think Private Party is going to end up winning the Impact Tag Team Championships.
No, I think it's a bigger story having the Good Brothers because of the whole Bullet Club connection. I think you need to keep the titles on them. But I was with you. I really got into kind of James Storm's hot tag, and that was the most interesting part of the match. And then it fell apart with the DQ. But there was too much of just feeling each other out, I thought, which if you're going to go to the DQ finish, I kind of want the body of the match to be entertaining. And I didn't think it really got there. So,
I'm about to say, like, you want to know what's funny, because you literally said that. You was like, Impact goes to DQ finishes a lot. And like as we ran through this show, they really do.
Oh yeah, it's 3 matches tonight. Was either like a DQ or a distraction or something. Too much. We go backstage where Matt Hardy is congratulating Private Party. Says once again, I'm going to put a bounty on those belts. They go, whoa. And he goes, I mean bonus. Tony Khan doesn't like the term bounty. Going to put a bonus. Going to give you a bonus once you win those belts. He says, now you've eliminated those guys, you can focus on the Good Brothers for this Saturday. But Scott D'Amore comes in and says, now that you've cut in line, you don't have to be worried about Storm and Sabin interfering. They're not going to interfere on Saturday because they're going to be in the match. It's now a 3-way dance for the titles on Saturday. And Matt Hardy looks furious and just goes, great job, guys, sarcastically. So you think Storm and Sabin have been added to take the pin, you were saying?
Oh, yeah. I definitely think they're going to. So I think, well, because you, like, okay, so it's a lot of ways I'm thinking. Like, my mind was kind of going like 3 different ways just now. I like how I think this could turn out. I think there's a chance that Private Party could win the Impact Tag Team Championships by pinning Storm and Sabin, and maybe doing some type of rematch on the or maybe they do something along the lines of just wanting that Private Party Good Brothers match to happen on a episode of Dynamite or on a big AEW show, maybe to kind of spotlight Impact more on a bigger stage per se, to have that tag title match. And like maybe we see Good Brothers pick up a win over Sabin and Storm, and then they, you know, play it up how, you know, oh, you never pinned us, you never actually beat us. So how about you put those titles on the line against us in a traditional tag team match, and we get that on the Dynamite, or we get that at the next Impact tapings.
Okay, yeah, I could totally see that. I wonder. I think that there's actually some fun to be had as well by having Private Party lose this. It depends how you tell the story after, but that would be the first, I think, first Impact win over AEW if they get pinned. And I feel Private Party can, like, I don't think it will kill them to have them lose.
They'll be all right.
They'll be all right. It's not like they're winning every week on Dynamite. They're not the Young Bucks, you know? Like, but I think it could be quite fun back on AEW TV, them kind of being a bit of a butt of the joke of the locker room. It's like, You lost to Impact, you know? And I think it could actually cement their heel turn even more and get them be a bit more vicious out of embarrassment, perhaps. But yeah, I think this will actually be a better match for it. I like Carl Anderson. I don't think anyone gets particularly too excited about Gallows ring work. Private Party are good, but they still show like freeness at times. So I think having Storm and Sabin in there, I think it will make the match a lot smoother, and then you can have Private Party show off with their kind of exciting moves in there. I think it will be a much better match actually now, being the 3-way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the 3-way addition is a nice, the addition of a third team is a nice touch to the match, and they got quite a few possibilities coming out of that.
We go to the contract signing for the World Heavyweight Championship. We have Scott D'Amore officiating this, Tommy Dreamer, the challenger, Rich Swann, the champion. And there's recently, we've mentioned it before, they've started piping in noise at Impact, and I think they've done it quite well. I felt it was a bit too much here because the piped in crowd were going absolutely bananas for this contract signing here with these 3 guys just sat at a desk. It sounded quite funny.
I say the virtual audience loves a good contract.
Oh, they just love it. As if we haven't had enough in the last year. Just, yeah, contracts. Love it. We have Tommy Dreamer, who thanks Swann and Scott for giving him this shot. He says, I really appreciate this, as I know there are way more deserving people than me in the back there. The first time... Yeah. The first time I won the World Championship was against Taz. He was the best man at my wedding. The second world title, I beat one of my best friends, Christian, and created history. He says, Rich, you are pound for pound one of the best wrestlers ever. There are no holes in your offense, but there are in your defense. I know you still have a bad leg, and I'm coming for it. And that's when Moose comes out. Let's break down this kind of first bit with Dreamer. What did you think here?
So I did like the fact that he brought up Rich's injury, because I don't know if you like anybody in the Twitch chat. I'm pretty sure some people have heard of like what exactly happened to Rich, but like, dude, I genuinely don't know how this dude is still wrestling at the rate that he is, or moving at the rate he is. Just hearing him describe like what really happened to him, like he basically, like, his Achilles was like finished, like, and it was like bad. Like he like the way he described it was like it got like crushed like a soda can. Like it was like really like that bad. Like, and the doctor was telling him, the surgeon was telling him that there was a possibility that he would be walking with a limp for the rest of his life. Wow. Probably. Like, and like that's like the least of it. Like, and it's like, I'm glad Tommy kind of mentioned that, because like it kind of really made me think about like how crazy it is to see Rich Swann like actually wrestling right now, just knowing how bad his Achilles injury was, and like how he could have I know people say this like often in storylines, like to further enhance it, but like that legit like could have ended Rich Swann's career. Like it was like that bad. So it's kind of cool to see him back, and like I like that Tommy added that little piece in there. I think it really added to the segment for those who were aware of the severity of Rich Swann's injury.
It's a great babyface line actually, because we're looking at this 50-year-old who we don't think stands a chance going against him. But he brings up, he's like, no, I know your weakness. It's your leg. Your ankle was messed up, and I'm going to go after that. But being a babyface, like, saying it as well, it's kind of out of respect almost. It's like, yeah, your offense is great, but this is what I'm going for, rather than doing it in a sneaky heel way. It's crazy, though, that Rich Swann can still move like he does. The only thing I notice he doesn't really do anymore is that standing 450, where he does the triple bounce and gets higher and higher. That's the only thing I've really noticed him eliminate from his game, but everything else, you'd have no idea. Like, I move worse than this guy, and I ain't doing wrestling,
That's hilarious.
We are interrupted by Moose, who comes out.
Hell of an entrance.
Great entrance. Looks like a star. He comes out and says, he's all suited up. He says, I never get angry, which I think is a lie. I think we see Moose angry quite a lot. He says, I never get angry. But the fact that I'm not getting the title shot I was promised pisses me off. He says, you're supposed to be a fighting champion, one of the best in the world. But it seems like you're taking a night off because you're wrestling a man who just turned 50 years old. And that's kind of what we said the other week. Like, it almost feels like a heel move taking Dreamer over Moose here.
Mm.
So Moose is getting in their face, and D'Amore warns him that if you attack either of these guys right now, I'm suspending you. Your title shot is done. You're off. And Moose says, no, I'm not going to attack these guys. Look, I already beat Dreamer at Slammiversary, and I know I can beat Swann. Moose then holds up the TNA Championship, and that's when Swann says that that's in the past and it's Impact now. It's about Impact Wrestling. Dreamer yells, telling them both to shut up. He pulls out his phone and says, on July 18th, I got a text from Moose saying, damn, I'm pretty sore. I thought you were just an old man, but you're pretty good. And basically putting over the match they had at Slammiversary and what a fight they had.
Dreamer with the pen.
Dreamer with the pen. And Dreamer says that he lit a fire under Moose's ass that night, and he's proud watching Moose since then and what he's been able to do, but he still doesn't get it. Dreamer says, I don't wrestle for the money. I wrestle to have fun and inspire people at home, inspire people at the back. He does it for the other Dreamers. Says, as long as I have air in my lungs and blood in my veins, I will wrestle for good. I want to wrestle and win that, pointing to the championship, and spread good in this world. For 3 hours, I want people to forget all the bad that's going on out there. And it will be an honor to tear it up with you, Rich. We'll leave the ring united by our love for pro wrestling and this business. Look, I have no interest in really watching Tommy Dreamer anymore, but when he needs to cut a promo, he gets me invested. He did it with that Moose feud earlier in the year. I think he's so great on the mic and kind of makes me interested about this match I really don't care about seeing. I love the stuff about Moose and saying that he's kind of proud of watching what Moose has done since that match at Slammiversary. You kind of want to root for this guy. He's acknowledging that, look, there are better wrestlers than me. I'm past my prime, but I just love this and want to keep doing this. And if I get a shot for the title, I want it. For me, I thought, as far as contract signings go, I thought this did a great job as actually making me more interested in this match and interested in the Moose factor that we know we're going to eventually. That's the next program, right? Moose versus Swann. I assume it's not Tommy Dreamer coming out of Saturday, but I thought they actually did a really good job with this final segment. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it definitely got me more interested than I was in the feud, and it's not even a feud, just in the match that they have coming up. Dreamer is very good. Like I know we always, we joke and we clown and stuff like that, and that's more so because Dreamer just a funny dude. Like if anybody has heard him, this dude on Busted Open the radio, like dude is hilarious. Like they always joking with him and making these comments, but like when he needs to turn it on and make it serious and make it legit, he can do that at the age of 50. So of course, kudos to Tommy Dreamer for being able to still turn it on. Like one thing that I really like that he said to Moose when he was like Impact almost fired your ass. Like we almost let you go. And I was like, ooh. I was like, when we can I get some more details about that, Jeremy? When was that? When was that? When you almost let when did they almost let Moose go? But I'm pretty sure that was probably around the time when his contract was coming up or something along those lines. But it was cool. No, I don't want to say cool, but it was just like, a nice little zinger in there to, much along the lines of earlier when he mentioned how Rich Swann's devastating injury. I like how he kind of brought up that Impact almost let Moose go, and then to see how Moose has progressed. But dude, this is the thing that I really like about guys like Tommy Dreamer is they understand like very simple concepts in professional wrestling as far as like building up a story when you see some people like when they in the promo segment with somebody like they're trying to get in all the good jokes and like trying to knock their opponent down verbally as best as they can, but like dude, that does nothing for the ultimate like the ultimate goal in the end, which is a match. Like you devaluing the person that you're supposed to be facing. Like Tommy Dreamer literally made Rich Swann look like a big deal by saying like, dude, I know you're quicker than me. I know you're probably a better wrestler than me. Like, but you know, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna try to give it my all. And he looks at Moose and says like, dude, you've been on a tear over the past year. Like you almost got cut a couple years ago, and it's really cool to see how far you've come. And I know you're a threat, but right now focus on Rich. And dude, he did so much for the both of them in like 3 minutes. I was like, that's perfect. It's perfect, bro.
I agree. I was listening to one of Arn Anderson's latest podcasts recently, and he was saying about you should never call someone fat or old in like a wrestling promo, because he goes, what do you get from it? You've then beaten a fat old person. What does that mean? Like, you should always be trying to put the other guy over, and we don't actually see it enough in wrestling. And I think that's where Dreamer, as you said, he gets it. He's putting over both these guys, and you see Taz doing it on commentary when it's someone up against Team Taz. He's not just saying about how bad they are. He's saying about all their strengths, but Team Taz is just better, you know. And it's definitely it's something I think maybe the veterans kind of understand a bit more. I also think since like the curtains pulled back, we all know what the deal is with wrestling. We know what's real and what's not real. As wrestling fans, we bite a lot more when they blur those lines. Think back a few years when you had those Cena versus Reigns promos, and Cena's bringing up stuff that isn't really story. It's like he's bringing up that people aren't getting behind Roman, and that we still need John Cena to be around because Roman hasn't taken that torch and gone with it. And that's kind of what Tommy Dreamer's been doing in both his feud against Moose in the summer last year, where he was bringing up, like, you were hated in the NFL, you're hated in this locker room, you could be the best at what you do, but you've got this attitude problem. And same here when he's bringing up the fact you're almost fired, which I kind of believe, actually. I can kind of see that being a thing. And they were like, all right, we're going to give this guy one more chance. It does make you more invested in the story. At least it does for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I still don't think Dreamer has a shot. Like, no. I don't think he's winning.
No.
but yeah, it definitely got me interested. Dreamer did it. Like, I think I could put the Dreamer with the pin jokes to the side for now. Like, dude, like he did a really good job in this segment. Like, he definitely deserves his props.
Yeah, we can put those jokes down until we get Dreamer versus Kenny Omega for the ownership of both Impact and AEW. That might be when we have to be like, all right, Dreamer, what's going on here?
It's happening. I'm telling you.
So that was Impact Wrestling, Feb 9th, 2021. Overall, I was a bit higher on this show than the last few weeks. I thought we got a lot more wrestling. We didn't get as many of the quick matches as we've had, but still the same problems. Too many distractions, too many DQs. And I really did enjoy that contract signing at the end there. So I'd say more thumbs up for me, like thumbs in the middle to thumbs up for this week's Impact. Like a good 6. 6.5.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go right along with you. I'm gonna say 6.5. The DQ finishes and stuff kind of took me out, but like that final segment did a lot for me as a fan of just watching. I think that was like a really solid contract signing to build for a match that I don't think a lot of people were really interested in. So yeah, I think that kind of kicked it up a few notches for me. But if you take that off the show, you know, kind of missable for the most part. But yeah, Dreamer, Swann, and Moose, that was a great segment. And of course, we're building to Swann versus Moose, and like me and you predicted, Moose is probably going to end up being world champion.
I think so, yeah. So that was Impact. We're going towards No Surrender this Saturday. We'll be talking about this on Deep Impact next week, kind of our thoughts on the pay-per-view. But let's quickly run through it and maybe just quickly shout out some predictions. So we
Let's
have
do it.
the triple threat revolver match for the #1 contendership of the Impact X Division Championship. Ace Austin versus Blake Christian versus Chris Bay versus Davari versus Josh Alexander versus Suicide versus Trey Miguel versus Willie Mack.
I'm going. I'm going Ace Austin.
You're going Ace Austin?
Yeah.
I see it being Trey, Austin, and Blake Christian as the final three. You know what? I'm gonna go with Blake Christian. I could maybe see something. You play back on the final with Blake Christian and Ace Austin, and you can always have him kind of, with it being a triple threat, kind of sneak the win. And I think that's an interesting direction. And then that frees up Trey Miguel to go with Sami Callihan. And I think Ace Austin can have something bigger at this point. We have Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona versus Brian Myers and Hernandez.
Hernandez is taking that pin, so I'm going Eddie Edwards and Cardona.
As long as he gets paid, who cares? Yeah, I think Eddie Edwards and Cardona as well. TJP versus Rohit Raju with Mahabali Shira for the Impact X Division Championship.
Two-time Davie, two-time X Division champion Rohit Raju.
I'm going with you there as well, and that's kind of why I think it will be Blake Christian winning the #1 contendership, because I think that seems like a fresh feud. I can't see them doing heel versus heel with Ace versus Raju. So I think
right.
Blake Christian versus Rohit Raju would be interesting down the line. We have the 6 knockouts tag match: Susan, Giona, Parazo, and Kimberly versus Jazz, ODB, and Jordan Grace.
They got to get Giona a win, bro. Like, they got to get her something. Like, she kind of been like just in the middle of everything, but not really the focus of anything. Like, they need to give her this win. Like, give her a defining standout win.
But you've got Susan and Kimberly right next to her begging to be pinned. They're just there. She's got 2 women there just ready to take the fall for her. Yeah, I think the baby faces are winning this one, personally. I'm with you. I think they need to give Giona something. But yeah, I can see it being the baby faces winning this one. We have the Knockouts tag team titles: Havoc and Nevaeh taking on Fire and Flavor in Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz.
You know what? I'm going Havoc and Nevaeh. I think they're going to do the switch.
I kind of feel you're right. I was thinking that as well. Maybe then you could build up. Hey, maybe that's when you can bring in Britt Baker to team with Tenille.
I thought you was about to say Sasha Banks.
No. Yeah, I think that Forbidden Door is still closed. But yeah, I could maybe see Havoc and Nevaeh winning, and then maybe it being in a feud with Dashwood and Britt Baker, perhaps. Impact World Championship: Rich Swann versus Tommy Dreamer.
Let me stop playing. But Rich Swann.
Rich Swann. I'm with you there. And then we have the main event, according to Wikipedia: the Good Brothers, Scott Gallows and Carl Anderson, defending their tag team championships against Chris Sabin and James Storm and Private Party.
The Good Brothers are pinning either Sabin or Storm, and then we are going to get the Private Party rematch later down the line.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going Good Brothers as well. And then we'll see next Tuesday how right we are. Only one bit of feedback this week, so I'll quickly read that out before we say goodnight. It's from Shorty2112. He says, "Hello, gentlemen. I'm Shorty212. Well, hello. And I am first time, long time. And I got to say that I am loving the companies working together. I was able to see Impact live the last few years, and I got to say that I am enjoying the shows a lot more lately. I'm looking forward to my Vengeance Day weekend with Impact and NXT show happening. I am loving the Knockout Champs and that the show is different, and I'm looking forward to it each week." Excellent. Well, it's nice to know that some people are watching Impact and we aren't just shouting into the void, Andrew. But yeah, Are you going to be watching the event this Saturday?
I will try to catch it. I'll probably catch it after it airs, probably off the late night sometime. And yeah, but it's a lot of good wrestling going on this weekend, man. But I am definitely going to catch this show sooner or later.
Yeah, I think for one of the Impact Plus pay-per-views, it feels a bit of a bigger deal than normal. I'm quite excited for this one. It's just, as you said, a loaded weekend. We've got NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day on Sunday and this on Saturday. Always so much wrestling, but it's a good job we're in a global pandemic and there's not much else to do right now, I guess. Any final words, Andrew, before we say goodnight?
Not much. Just thank you for having me on, bro. I always appreciate doing these. Always great to be asked to be doing podcasts, and it's always fun chatting with you, my good man.
Have you got any final things you need to plug? Any shows coming out? Any interviews?
I will be recording an interview with a certain Ring of Honor star this Friday. You're tuning in to see who that is. And I am lobbying everybody, please go tag Bow Wow in your tweets and let him know that I'm trying to interview him. I'm trying to get the scoop.
Oh, I think I gave that a retweet earlier. Yeah, everyone go to it. And where can we find you on Twitter, Andrew?
AD Thompson __ as Wei Ting likes to point out __.
Perfect. Well, I'll be back tomorrow night with a brand new episode of Up Next. We'll be talking about the go home show of NXT.
Oh, hey, did you about to say what this kind of ties into what you just said? Did you see what they just tweeted out from NXT?
I did not know. What
So
did they say?
Austin Theory put out a video and said no Johnny takeover this Sunday, but tomorrow night Kushida you're gonna pay because that's the way. And then the official NXT Twitter account had tweeted out Johnny takeover out of takeover Vengeance Day with question marks at the end. So I'm pretty sure the account just wouldn't tweet that for no reason. So
Yeah, okay.
It's just weird. And he said Austin Theory is a direct quote. He said, I just left Johnny's house and I can't hold this in anymore. Johnny's out of takeover. Johnny would not be there, and it is all because of you, Kushida. I always have a smile on my face, but it is time to be serious. I'm not playing around. Tomorrow night on NXT, Kushida, you will pay. So it's looking like Theory versus Kushida on tomorrow's NXT, and Johnny may be out of takeover. They haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm pretty sure, we know that the account wouldn't comment on that unless it was, something going on. So hopefully Johnny's good.
Yeah, I mean, it could always be an angle that it's
right
Johnny to screw over Kushida tomorrow. But interesting. Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. That's the match I'm most looking forward to on Sunday. So I really hope it goes ahead. But if not, I'm sure it will happen at some point. And obviously, wish Johnny Gargano well, whatever he's dealing with. So yes, up next tomorrow night. No shot in the dark this week. We've got John Cena just attending to some personal things, so we wish him our best as well. Thursday, BD Elite, 1 p.m. on Twitch, and then will be available in the free Up Next feed you to listen to at a later time. We have so many more shows on the Patreon this week. We're looking at the top 5 moments of love in wrestling. That'll be coming out this weekend, as well as reviews from the 6. We're going back to 1999 to review the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, as it is Valentine's Day weekend. Looking at Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon in a steel cage. But more importantly, Val Venus fighting Ken Shamrock over the love of Ryan Shamrock. It's great. It's fantastic. And then the main event this Sunday, we'll be doing our live post-show for NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day, twitch.tv/upnext. Podcast will be going up about 15 minutes after the show ends. You'll be able to hear it in your free feeds as well if you can't catch us live. Twitch.tv/upnext podcast. That's it, guys. That was Deep Impact. Thank you once again, Andrew. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. And we'll be back very, very soon. Good night, people. Take care. Be safe. Ahoy!
This is the captain. Brace for impact.